Hey guys, thanks for tuning back into the Hicks Hooks channel. This is Alec Hicks, and tonight I'm going to show you my 3 cheap and easy flies that I always keep in my fly box, whether I'm smallie fishing or going for some big old trout. The first one I like to tie up, bead-headed crystal bugger. I'll tie it up in black tonight. The next one I like to go with, and I always throw this one on first, especially when it's dark out there and that water's a little bit murky, is the slump buster. I tie it a little bit cheap and easier than most. And the last one to tie up for you is my take on the Chuckcraft kreelex. It's a nice little streamer pattern. I tie it up in all sorts of different colors. Black and gold's my favorites on the freshwater streams, and silver with a white tail is my favorite going for saltwater. Those blues tear it up. So this is how I do it. Alright, so I'm starting off with a size 10 hook here. I'm going to use a bead head. I like to use the black bead head, especially when I'm doing a black crystal bugger. It's a 5/32 size bead head. I'm doing black cactus chenille, a staz, and then I'm using some black marabou. You can mix all those colors up. I like olive, I like black, I like chartreuse. But they're all my favorites. So I'm gonna put this bead on there. Same thing. You're gonna tie your base on here in a second. This fly I've really used for small water streams a lot. I've used it in the Potomac River and caught nice smallies on here, but in some spring creeks I've caught some huge rainbows just throwing this little simple, cheap and easy fly out there. And like I said, olive and black are my 2 favorite. I've gone olive and black. So I take a strand of marabou. I'm gonna keep this whole thing on there. So I take I like a little 1/2-inch tail. I like it to wisp out in the end. I feel like it just kind of flickers around better when it hits a riffle. And I'm gonna keep the rest of this marabou on here because eventually what you're gonna do is you're gonna end up wrapping that up, and that just builds a better base for that chenille to kind of hang on to. So time I thread up here all the way to the bead head, and then I'm going to take this marabou and just wrap it around. And you don't need to be super careful, just watch out for your fingertips hooking that hook point. And I like to tie this nub off because I just feel like that nub kind of sticks up, so just get the big bulky part out of there. Alright, you're going to take your crystal chenille, so just wrap it back down because really all that marabou is the base in there. Just give it a little thickness to the body. I'm going to tie this on, just take the really tip part of it and wrap it all the way back with the bead head, and then you just wrap this thing around. Try not to overlap it. Go in front and front and front and around. If you need to, you can kind of adjust the hairs. Sometimes depending on the grain, the way they roll, sometimes they try to tuck under. Just keep them pulling them up, and just, like I say, use each hand. Make the hands work together. Clip off the excess, and then like I always do, I just, do a couple wraps, a couple 1/2 hitches, and I never use glue. My boy Ian from up in Maine, he's a lobsterman, fly fisher guy. He just said one time, he said, "Why are you putting all that glue on there, man? You just tied 10 knots. You think that thing's coming apart?" And ever since, they've never come apart. So there you go. That's a crystal bugger. Black, I keep about 5 black and chenille ones in there, and 5 olive chenille ones in there too. They're just great flies. Alright, next one's cheap and easy slump buster. I think I'm a little cheap and easy. I don't know. I try to get the beads as many as I can for the cheapest amount. I use just a little bit of the chenille. Sometimes I don't use the chenille, and then your zonker fur. I like to use black and olive. My favorite go-to is an olive tail with a black head, and so here we go. So you just take this bead, the cone head here. This is a size 4 hook, size streamer hook, 3X. So you got your cone head on there, and then just kind of put your base on. Wrap it down. I feel like the base kind of holds the leather on these zonker tails good, so make sure you get a good base. I'm going to start with my olive, so I'm going to take that. I've got about 1.5 inch long strip of zonker here, and I'm gonna get it right down the middle. I feel like your tail's too long. If you can bend it up and around under that hook bend, and you want enough so it's gonna kind of flick out of the end. So you can bend that back, and now you take that little teeny piece of chenille. I think this is kind of for show. Probably catches the fisherman more than the fish. I fish a lot of my slump busters without this piece, but it makes it look pretty. So you just tie this on. You're gonna wrap it back up to about halfway up that hook shank, or really right underneath, before where you're gonna tie the extra piece of that tail on there. So clip that off, and then you're gonna see I'm gonna push this tail up, and that leather strip, I'm just gonna hold right over the chenille, pull the hair back, and just kind of cinch down over it. And you want to make sure that's flush. You don't want to kind of ripping around and bending everywhere. It just doesn't make the fly really float and swim that well. So tie that down, give it a little more base, because this is where the head is going to go. Now, some people use crosscut fur for the head. I just buy lots of straight cut zonker fur. And I'm going to tie this on just kind of over top of where I tied that last olive piece on, wrap it back over the head, and I'm going to look and kind of see which way those hairs want to go. If they want to go to the left, I'll tie it that way. If they want to go to the right, I'll flip it back the other way. So here, they go back to the right a little bit better. So the key here is use a little bit of water or saliva and just pull those hairs back as you wrap that around. And then just kind of same thing as you were doing with the chenille and the crystal bugger. You're going to kind of go up and around, and just keep pulling that hair back towards the tail, and then come over the top. You want to leave a little strip of that leather just to kind of wrap around. If you catch it right, it's perfect. So kind of wrap it over top of that leather, and then you're going to want to pull with your two fingertips up underneath of that cone head, and that just makes that hair flare out, makes the collar tuck in, and just kind of seals the deal on this fly. And then, like I do, just 3 or 4 half hitches over the top, really pull them tight. 1, 2, 3 over the cone head, and that's the one thing, you don't want to get this thing between the cone head and those and the hook eye, because the cone will be stuck down and look all weird. So you can fix the tail if you need to, adjust it, and that thing is going to catch some fish right there. I mean, if I'm going fishing and I hit a trout stream, 9 out of 10 times I'm putting that thing on first, because I like my streamers. Look at that tail, it just flickers. Alright, here we go. The cheap and easy kreelex. So Chuck Craft, his kreelex has caught me some fish, and then I started sitting down at the fly tying bench, and I realized that I could change it up a little bit. So here we go. I like a size 4 saltwater hook. You can bend that bar back on the hook, but I like a size 4 saltwater hook. I'm going to take that same black marabou here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing I did. I'm going to tie that down, and I think that really, like, you know, you can use foxtail here or marabou. I just like a strip down the middle of the hook, because really that's kind of like a line. Like you'll see a lot of minnows, there's a line down them. When I tie them silver and white on the ocean, that imitates the silver sides. So I just like to wrap that marabou or whatever up that hook shank. I pinch off that nub and snip it. Alright, so now you can take your eyes. These eyes are like 7/32. They're big, they're heavy. Heavier you go, the deeper it goes. You know, whatever you're fishing for. Shallow stream, keep it light. But what I do with my eyes, I like to do I pitch a tent, go to the front, go to the back. You'll see there's a little bit of room in there, and then what I do is I just come underneath of those eyes and I cinch it in there hard, because that just pulls it down. And like I said, I don't use glue. It makes it a little cheaper here, and those eyes aren't going to move. So then you can take your crystal flash. You can use Flashabou. Flashabou's a little bit flimsier in the water. I think crystal flash gives it a little more, you know, body and texture. And I'm going to take one whole side, which is probably about 5.5, 6 inches, and snip it right down to the base. Now what you can do with this is you can end up cutting it in half. So half goes to the top, half goes to the bottom. Since the eyes are on top, we're really tying the bottom right now. So you're going to guesstimate here, cut about half off, And what you're going to do is you're going to just put that right in front of the eyes before the hook eye. Couple wraps, loose enough so you can adjust it, even it out, make sure they meet up, and then you're going to pull that over the eyes. You can do a figure 8, and then you're going to cinch it behind the eyes, and then come back in front between the eyes and the hook eye. I don't have a rotary vise, and I've had this vise for years. I just flip my hooks, no problem. Cheaper this way anyways. Now I'm going to take the rest, the second half of those fibers from either the crystal flash, the marabou, any kind of hangers, just pull them out, let them go, vacuum those later. You can do the same thing in front of the eyes, between the hook eye. And now we're going to wrap it, make it even. A little rough cut's not bad, maybe snip some of the excess. And then all we're doing here, we're doing a figure 8. I'm not going behind the eyes. I like this part to stick up. That's the top, because those eyes are going to keep it keel, like down. So the hook side's going to be up. And I'm going to do my figure 8s, and I'm going to do some half hitches, tie it off, cinch it right in front, make sure those things are tight, give myself some room to tie my leader in there, snip it. And this fly, I mean, when it's on, it's on. And this fly, it makes those fish come out from behind the rock. So tie it as big as you want or as small as you want. But my version, the Chuckcraft kreelex, it gets the job done.